Hi, this is Robin Ellermeyer. I got 7th place at the Seattle Regional, and with Voiceless Voice. I'm just going over the deck, I guess. So, the reason why I went with Voiceless Voice is budget was the first thing. I don't have $1,000 for Snake Eye. And then I like the deck, and also as like a meta call, I think the reason why we're seeing Voiceless as the only deck outside of Snake Eye that's seeing consistent tops is that it's just really good into the type of non-engine that is good against Snake Eye. I think this deck excels in hand trap wars where neither player is really getting any plays started because you have like barrier to search a card every turn. Low is tricky to interact with, and you've got targeting protection for imperms, veilers, mourners that are running around. I think like in a hypothetical format with no Snake Eye, Low is a top deck contender, but really that particular strength is why it's the deck that is standing out as like a rogue option. I think that part of like what good Voiceless Voice players are doing and what I was doing this event that helps a lot is I was going over 40 cards. I was playing 42. I don't think I'll get into it later. I don't think the cards that I went over 44 were the correct choice, but just not seeing my like prayers, radiance, the garnets as often is really helpful. And like 27 of the deck's engine slots are just mandatory, so you need to have, and you want to have like 15 hand traps this format to see two like pretty consistently. So I think 40 card Voiceless Voice, like 12 hand traps just isn't enough. I was never going for Dynamondo. I think it only comes up going second, really. It's a huge trap for new players to the deck, and I'll get into that later as well. And the other thing is, like, I think a lot of people have this perception of the deck as having like these really good 1 or 2 card combos, but the deck can't like scale the strength of its end board based on having more engine, and that's just not true. But you just need to know what the lines are that play through more hand traps, that end on more disruptions, because they're not intuitive unless you are pretty familiar with the engine. So I guess going into the more of the list, I'm not going to go over most of it. Like, you've got the engine here. These 27 cards I think are all just mandatory. The 2 Cerevis is just really nice. You want to have, you're often going to search one for targeting protection, and then it just feels like such a waste to summon that from hand with the Cerevis. It's nice to have the second one in deck. And the other thing is just, there's a ton of cards that are combos with Ritual Fodder. Like, Low plus Ritual Fodder is a significantly better combo than just Low by itself. So even like Low plus Cerevis means if they have Imperm or Veiler, you're still getting the Low to resolve, and if they don't have Imperm or Veiler, then your ceiling is better with the Tribute Fodder. And then these 12 hand traps, everyone runs them. They're just the best, 4 best hand traps this format. So the Drolls were incorrect. I only saw them like twice, but yeah, they contributed to bad hands. The theory behind Droll was like, I thought that it was the 5th hand trap, 5th best hand trap at the time. It's good into Voiceless, it's good into the Fire King variants, but it's not that good into a lot of other rogue, and it can pair well with one other hand trap. Like, it's not great with Imperm or Veiler. I think it's fine with Asher Nib, but like a 3 hand trap hand, Droll is easily the worst hand trap there. And I just don't think that was the right call. But I expected more Fire King, and I expected more Voiceless Voice, and only played against 1 each. Or not 1 each. I played against 1 Fire King, no Mirror. The Pendulum Graph Dragon, I see a lot of people either not running this or running it in the side. I think if I expected to see more Snake Eye, I would probably move this to the side, but it's just, I mentioned that you can get much higher ceiling boards off of, all engine hands and stuff like that. and this is part of that, and it's also just really important into this deck's bad matchups. Like Branded is really tough because Skull Guardian negates activations. They Branded Fusion, you negate it, they can get to a second one, like Retribution or something, and that's still resolving, but this negates effects, and so if you can get this plus a Skull Guardian, I think Branded goes from a bad matchup to a pretty favored one, and they're not on hand traps, so if you open 2 or 3 engine hands, you can get to this if you know that's what they're on. And so yeah, that's it for the main. Gonna set a few cards aside here for later, and yeah, put that away. Oh, I need one of those. So I guess I'll go on to the extra next. I used to think that the extra was pretty cramped, and then I cut Super Poly, and I only experimented with the Branded engine a bit, but it's pretty flexible now. Anima, I would also run a Link Kribo for another Link 1, but I just couldn't find it, and it never came up. It was fine. SP comes up a ton. I'll get into that. People do not make this card enough in the deck. IP, same. It doesn't come up as much as Little Knight, but when you are able to make this, it's really, really good. And I also made this one time to like bait a nib to tactics, look at the hand. That was the round that I drew. My score was X1 and 1, but I would have won that game because of the baiting the talents the way that I did. So yeah, IP also really good. Your Diviner targets. Excel Baron came up once, and I was winning that game anyways, but just this deck has a hard time lethaling through a Bestial if you play it wrong. And so this, just with a lot of hands, makes your life a lot easier, and if you have the extra deck space, it can come up, especially this with all the level 3 tuner hand traps that you're running this format. Yeah, the Baron comes up especially more than this. Chaos Angel never made it. A lot of people in deck profiles say they never made it, but it is just nice to have. 2 Dynamondo, so many people say, oh, you gotta run 2, because one for the end board, one for the grind game. It's not true. If I had like Link Rebo, for example, the second one is what I was cutting. And then this also never came up, but partially because I never saw the mirror for the Lina, but just the like Axis Code Selene OTK package was what replaced the Super Poly targets. And no Super Poly, by the way, just because it didn't fit into like the siding patterns. Like I was just siding into a bunch of hand traps against Snake Eye. And there wasn't like any rogue that I particularly wanted Super Poly into. So yeah, I cut it and had the extra deck slots. So for the side, 3 Mourner was insane, and this is what should have been the Drolls. I was siding this in like every single game. The Cosmics didn't do anything yesterday except for contribute to really bad hands. I stopped. So my siding patterns, like rounds 1 through 4, were just really ugly, and I think I really corrected them going forwards, and it was a lot better. The Droll to round out the playset never came in. Like I said, this card was a bad call. Never drew the called by, and then Talents, I was only on the 1, and I should have been on more, because the 2 games that I had it was just insane. This deck's interruptions, like the Summon Negate, the Omni Negate, are really good at taking advantage of hand knowledge. Like in Snake Eye, if you know their hand, you know how you can cut them off Flame Burge, and then, God, especially Talents plus Nibiru going first is just like, that is super, super hard for the opponent to deal with. 3 Bell, so part of the bad siding patterns early on is I was siding in Bell for going first, because I was like, oh, it can protect me against like Bestials and related graveyard disruption, but I'll show the line in just a sec, and yeah, this is super unnecessary going first. But I did side it into matchups where it's just a good card. Like, it's, I try to side into, like, having 18 hand traps going second against Snake Eye, and this is one of the cards that gets me to 18. And then, like, good into the Mirror, Labyrinth, Branded, all sorts of stuff. And then finally, Solemn Strike. This card, it was either this or Summon Limit, and I'm super, super happy I went with Solemn Strike. It's just, in those like hand trap wars going back and forth, this gets their bodies off field, which means that compared to like a Summon Limit, they could out that the next turn with an SP, but this is just insane. It's also good into Branded, which I played against 2 yesterday, because it lets you cut off their Branded Fusion access, like I Solemn Striked the Aluber, without ever having to activate a monster effect. And so, like, I won a game because I Solemn Striked the Aluber, and then his hand was like Thrust, Forbidden Droplet. Like, if I was reliant on the Skull Guardian negate, he won that game. So yeah, this format, you want some sort of blowout going first card because decks are getting really strong at going second, and I think this was the correct choice for sure. So that is the deck, and then I'll get into the line that I think is like the correct 2-card combo. So the combo is just any spell. This could be like pre-prep, can be Pot of Prosperity usually, and Low, and Saffira. And this also isn't even necessary. You'll see why it comes up in a sec. But so this is the hand. Discard, send, search your Skull Guardian, banished Ritual Summon, tribute the Low, summon out, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. If they bestial the Low, then use Skull Guardian, search the Low, normal summon, you're all good. But assuming no disruptions, you get to search. I'll just grab Saravis here, but this is pretty flexible depending on the hand. And you'll see why Saravis in a sec, and then summon this out. Effect and barrier you do not need, especially if you're searching Saravis for the targeting protection anyways. Radiance here helps you play through a lot. So now from this position you can go Radiance to summon from deck. You put this back from hand, or if you have a spare ritual spell, whatever, I want to keep that in grave, so put this back from hand, summon the Saravis from deck, and then link these two off for either SP or IP. This is the 4th summon, so you can make the IP, you're not playing into Nib, but if you have like 3-card combo or something, or you lead Diviner, this is 5th summon, then you want the SP to play around Nib, because this deck just shouldn't play into Nib. And so, yeah, but so the reason why you don't go for Dynamondo is when you really like break down what the Dynamondo is doing, it's getting you low in grave, and you're summoning a ritual so that you can place the barrier, right? But this does the exact same thing. You Saravis, bounce it back to hand. Oh, this should be in grave. And then you get the other Skull Guardian from deck, low summons, and you get the barrier. And now you have the Omni, you have IP, any additional hand traps or engine you had in hand also contributes to the board. And this line also plays around Super Poly. You'll notice I haven't done Radiance yet. If they Super Poly here, then these two go to grave. Chainlink 1 Prayer will trigger to summon a ritual from deck. Chainlink 2 Radiance, shuffle back Skull Guardian, summon Low from deck, and then Prayer will resolve, summon the Skull Guardian, and then you're back. So yeah, this just plays around all sorts of board breakers, all sorts of hand traps, and I think it's the way to go. Let me just go over my notes to see if there was anything that I'm missing. So no branded engine because 1, I didn't think I'd respect roll too much, and 2, what the engine does, I'm not very impressed with. It's like a bad pre-prep in most situations where you're sending Saffira and you're getting Mirror Jade plus Ritual Fodder on field. But when you're Saffiraing for, ritual access, like ritual summon access and ritual fodder, that's like the worst outcome for Saffira. And you're going through your Saffira on like a pre-prep, which gives you access to a second ritual summon that turn. There's just, you get the Mirror Jade, and that sounds crazy, but SP is also a banish, and it plays around Nib way better. And then it takes 5 extra deck slots, which the extra is flexible, but that is a cost that is worth mentioning. So that's why not on that. It's also 4 main deck slots. It's bad going second, because if they have an SP on field, you branded fusion, make the Albion, activate Albion effect, they SP banish your Albion, and you're now forced to resolve that Albion. What you're often doing is making another Albion with the Albaz and then a Voiceless card or Ritual Light in hand, and then that just is atrocious. You just lose the game on the spot if that happens. And I don't want to play a going second card that makes me lose on the spot to a single piece of removal. And then, let's see. The biggest mistake I made was just a technical play error. I had planned out the turn, and part of that plan involved the prayer graveyard effect, and I forgot it. And I'm not want to be too harsh on myself for it because, God, Seattle regionals are so cramped. You don't have space to fan out your graveyard or anything. So grave effects, they're just gonna be buried in there, and you just have to remember. And it feels bad, but still, I should have remembered it. Need to get better about that. But that was the round that I drew. I threw game 2 because I forgot that and had to go to game 3. And as you saw, I'm not on any time card. That is another consideration for the extra, is just fitting an Aghav Dragon. As you kind of saw from that line, you can get ritual material on field. Like that hand didn't normal summon. So you can get to the Aghav Dragon and win in time with that. So that I probably should have added, but only one round that I played went to time. Yeah, I think that's everything. I guess shout outs to just everyone at locals, and then my spouse, my friends, just everyone was really supportive. I was after round 3, I was already X1-1, and I had to win like 6 in a row to top, and I don't think I would have been able to be as like calm and just taking it one round at a time as I was able to if I didn't have people there to, you know, talk with, to listen to, and help distract me. And yeah, this is just really thankful to everyone who helped with this. Yeah, I think that's everything.